Hello and welcome to the Wedding School. Now today we have a really special video for all those brides out there that are navigating their wedding planning through these very challenging times. Now Christie is one of our beautiful brides who unfortunately was due to get married earlier this month. Now we've just had a recent conversation about what's been going on, and we just thought that it would be really useful for those couples that, you know, as yourselves, had to postpone their wedding, because I know at the moment there's not a lot of conversations that are happening, and we thought, you know, your story would give some insight into sort of how to get through these times.
I think after our conversation that we had, I took a lot out of it, because learning to adapt and navigate through a time that was held a really high focus for me was really difficult. And you know, I say that our magic carpet of friends truly got us through the emotional part. And going into once you get over those emotions, I think you can really see the bigger picture. And I found myself looking to you, absolutely, to friends and family, and sometimes people don't necessarily have the answers that you want, which I found really tough, which is why doing this I felt really good about, because if I can share anything that made me feel better and be able to look to the bigger picture, is really what this time is all about. We're all coming together, and this is really important to talk about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as a planner, you know, in those very early stages, and I distinctly remember like our very early conversations in mid-March when things were changing so quickly that I felt it really difficult myself to give advice, not knowing, you know, what to do or say. You know, I wanted to remain really strong and confident for all our couples, but at the same time, you know, you're just aware of the situation that's playing out.
Yeah, and I think there's no step-by-step guide to this. You know, you are such a driving force behind what to do, when to do what, and for both of us, we're just kind of stuck in a position going, so how do we pick a new date? Do we send out new invitations? When do we commit to doing it? Are people traveling from overseas going to be able to do their There's so many questions that are unanswered. And I think that's the biggest thing. And the more conversations I had, the better I felt. And I think the more confident I felt in actually going, I'm happy with this date, or I'm happy to wait to get to a date. And that has purely come about through conversation.
Yeah. And you mentioned before that in your own bridal party, you have 4 very close friends that are actually in the same situation. So they were planned to get married in sort of, you know, within the next 6 months or so. So how was that? And was that helpful?
I think there were different elements that went into it. I think there was a bit of, we've got 6 months to all fit our weddings in again, when we'd all fit them in really well in the first 6 months. So I feel like we all got a little bit overwhelmed in picking our date and making sure that it wasn't too close to each other's, and we weren't stealing each other's bridal limelight as such. And there was a time where we had booked in a to be confirmed date, and then it was probably a little bit too early. All of my other beautiful friends had locked in their dates, and I sat there for a little while going, I don't know if ours can be this year, and if we can find a date that actually fits into it. But again, I think it was more the emotions that were playing a part in ruling that. And once I spoke to my friends and my family, including my friends that are getting married, hopefully in the next half of the year, it was more of the excitement. I think everyone kind of went, get married on the weekend before us, get married on the weekend after. Who cares? We will be there. You know, no one planned for this. And I think that's a really important thing. I think initially I felt a little bit, I guess, scared in a sense to bring up the conversation and feel emotional and do all of these things. But it's really what led me to just a feeling like a bride again. You know, I'd had my hens weekend, my partner had his bachelor, they were extravagant, they were overseas, we were on such a roll, and to get those feelings back into gear again after a disappointment was just tough.
Yeah, and I can imagine it was like a bit of a letdown almost, because I know for us, you know, we are pre-planning weddings.
Well, you're as excited as we are.
8 to 12 months, they're in the calendar, they're ingrained in our brain, the date. So when that date rolls around, it was very eerie for me personally. And I don't even, I know you guys got away.
Yeah, we
escaped
did.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So how did you manage that date, and was it weird? And
I think the date was probably the weirdest thing.
Yes.
And I was fine. We went into it. We had a little getaway within restrictions, and we had no signal. We turned off our phones for 4 days, and it was really special because I think we got to navigate it better.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you're not just waking up and you're like, and doing the same old thing every day. You're actually removed and you're together and you're creating like a new memory,
I think the biggest thing is changing up that day.
Yeah.
Do something, whether it's with family or friends that you're allowed to do, or just with you and your partner. I think change up the day, wake up and have a glass of champagne, and actually make that day a really special memory. Because for me, I was quite scared of that day, to be honest. You know, I knew I was waking up at 6 a.m. to start hair and makeup. I knew who was going to be there. I knew what stuff was going to look like. I knew who would be surrounding me, and none of that was there but my partner. So I think you've really got to put emphasis on that day, and make it a day that sometimes you do celebrate. You know, it's a pandemic. There's nothing we can do about it except respect what we need to do as people, and you know, postponing or changing your wedding date is something that we can do. So use the advantage of the space that you're given to change it, because you're always going to remember that date. You know, that date's never going to just go away, and not that you need to celebrate it like an anniversary or something. But, you know, make a cheese platter, have croissants in bed. And I don't know if this is a fault of my own or not, but I picked up a beautiful veil from my wedding dress designer on the Friday morning. We would have been getting married on the Saturday, to take some photos and just have a bit of fun for Luke and I. And I walked in, and I stood in there, and I just kind of went, uh-oh,
what am I doing?
What am I doing? I'm not here to pick up my wedding dress. And all of the girls, it was quite funny, all of the girls kind of turned around and stared at me, and we all just burst out laughing because we couldn't hug. It was just a really funny thing that I actually, in the moment, I was like, Christie, you're so silly. Why are you doing this? But it was a memory that I think I'll hold on to forever.
And just something little I wanted to ask. I know as a planner, I was never sure what to say. You know, especially when it was, you know, it's like the eve of what was, you know, to be.
Totally.
And I guess I was wording it like that too. And I don't know, is there anything that would have made you feel better, or things that we shouldn't be saying?
I think something that you did that made me feel really at ease was the fact that you kept calling.
Okay, good.
Like you kept, it was a touch point, like not asking how I was, just I guess you were just checking in on me and the situation. And I think, you know, with planning a wedding and having a wedding planner, you become really close, and you entrust your ideas, your secrets, your feelings, your anxiety, your stress, all of that kind of goes to you. And I think by you checking in with me on no particular topic and not asking me questions, I think made me feel okay. I didn't feel like I had to reply to emails. I didn't feel like I had to do all of these things when you called. It was more just how is today? You know, today, good, bad, like what are we working with? And I think that relationship building was really special to get me to move forward. I knew my wedding planner was still there.
Yeah.
In a sense, it kind of gave me the faith in that my wedding was still going ahead when it could go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's good for us too to check in as well and make sure, because it is a really weird time for us as well. And while we continue to plan, there's like, you know, we are pausing on a lot of things as well.
And I think something for me that comfortable check-in made me feel good was I have this notion that when we are able to have our wedding, all of my ideas are going to change.
No, they're not.
I have this overwhelming, this is the first time I've told you this, by the way. I have this overwhelming feeling that, you know, we're going to come back to it and I'm going to go, oh, do I change the colour palette? Do I want that furniture? You know, do I? And I think, you know, again, it's these silly things that I think about because I've got time to go, oh, I've got an extra year, or I've got 6 months. You know, I was done. I was very done. And I think having that comfortable space for me to go, so about the colour palette, you know, I kind of feel like having had all those touch points, it's not so scary to broach those topics and go, oh, you know, that peach, it's dated now. And I feel like you can have those moments of, oh, she's gonna hate me. But it's something that made me feel happy to know that you were always going to be there, no matter with my crazy ideas, my normal ideas. It was something that we were in it together, and it was as much of my day as it was yours, in a good way. And I think that made me feel less anxious about it. You know, I personally think people ask a lot of questions, and I'm sure most females and grooms as well will agree. You know, is your wedding dress done, or do you have anything else to do? And you're like, oh yeah, wedding dress is done, hope I still like it in 6 months, or you know. And I think, again, we're human beings in this time, and it's fine to think those unsettling thoughts and go with it, and use your army to facilitate those things. And you know, my bridesmaids blew me away at every step. They were always there, and I think that you really see the value of your people in these times. You know, you always, for every wedding, you kind of think about the role that they play. And for me, this is the biggest role a bridal party can play, because they've got a distressed friend and bride, and they've either gone through it or are going through it too. So really lean on your people. I think, you know, I'm a really strong-willed person, and I tend to not lean on too many people in general, and I really have. And the relationships and bonds formed from something as scary as this is really, really special, and it's something that most times we don't get. You know, we don't get put in these positions often, and you can only use it for good.
Thank you so much for coming in, and we'll continue to be chatting and planning away and not changing a thing. No, you're allowed to change your mind if you'd like. And we're really excited to be actually sharing a bit more of the process of Christie's planning and styling process with you. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you again